Hi everyone, welcome back to my video. If you're like, and the audio sounds really good today. Why does the audio sound so crisp? I have a mic, guys. Where did the budget come from? I'll never tell. Now we're so professional. We got a mic. What's next? We're gonna get a camera? Oh my god. Not yet. Not so quickly. Let's not. Anyways, so today, we're gonna first talk about our new fish tank setup, which I'm really nervous about because fish police, they are real. And I love looking up fish and aquascaping and fish tank setups on TikTok, and the fish police are in the comments. You never do anything right, according to them. So I am kind of nervous, but I am also taking all of their advice and trying to do everything correctly with this new setup. We'll get into it. This was like 3 days ago. I set up like the base. I have aqua soil on the left and the right, and I have like river rocks in the middle. So I fill her up, and also I got these like stones. They're like sharp and blade-like, and I thought it was so cool to have it as a little thing to draw attention, you know? But yeah, this was the first night after I filled it up, and it was filthy. The filter was really working overtime. And you see how like the baby fish right now are in the circular tank? So this was just for one night. Right now they're in this like 10 by 20 plastic tub. They have their hiding out spots. They get fed brine shrimp, ground up 2 times a day, and yeah, they're doing amazing. They also got all these plants to hide under, and they're thriving. So unfortunately, there's no video of me actually planting the tank because I forgot to record. So here are 2 pictures of me doing it. So this is the night right after I was done planting it, and as you can see, I am not very good at it. They look kind of fucked up. Okay, so here are the plants that I used. On the very back, I got plants that can grow to be tall. The ones I used mainly are round leaf toothcup, Rotala rotundifolia. Hope I said that right. And on the left side, I use the ones that are gonna be green, and on the right side, they'll be red. But I'm not really sure if the coloration would really come through if I don't pump CO2 in the tank. I mean, it's just an extra step. I don't know if I'm feeling it, honestly. And then in the middle of the tank, I have medium height plants. So Asian marshweed, which is also called Limnophila sessiliflora. And then I also have Nepenthes ruby, which is the one with the bigger leaves. I think they're gonna be so pretty. At the very front, we have my Chrysanthemum Monte Carlo. It's the plant I also have in my old tank, and they do, I would say, pretty good. This is the old tank I have. I also bought these red root floaters that I put in the other tanks. But yeah, this is the Monte Carlo that is growing really well. And this is the second night. We had a bacteria bloom where the water gets really foggy, but it's a really good thing. So this happens a lot when you cycle a tank, especially early on, because the aqua soil is releasing nutrients into the water, and then the plants that you just put in, they're doing something to the water, so it gets cloudy, and it's usually temporary. Now it's on the 3rd day, and it is back to being crystal clear again. I will probably wait for the tank to cycle for a week before I give another update. But in general, I did a test strip, and everything looked pretty good, except that the water was a bit too hard and that the pH was a bit low, which means it's slightly acidic. but it's still very early on in the cycling, so I will just wait it out for a bit and see if it evens out. The most important parameters, which are ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates, they are all good so far, so I'm not super worried. Moving on, second segment of our video. Yeah, I made a new oil painting, actually 2. And also, new palette. Fuck the old wood palette. We're doing something brand new. Glass palette. Way easier to clean. Get on board, everyone. It's so simple, y'all. Just mix a warm gray, which means just put a little bit of yellow, and mix titanium white and Mars black. Mix, mix, mix. But do make sure that it's acrylics, not oil, because you need it to dry really quickly. You also need a pane of glass, obviously. I just used a old picture frame. And it's also perfect because then it holds the glass in place. And this is what it looks like from the front. And now you have a toned palette. Also make sure that you have like 3 layers so it's not see-through. Now you're probably dying to know, oh my god, what are we painting? What are we painting? So yeah, let's get into it. Since my last painting of tofu was stolen and destroyed and thrown into the trash and stomped on and farted on, I decided to make new paintings of tofu. And this time I want to make it extra special by painting pictures of tofu interacting with mom and dad, my mom and dad. So these are the 2 pictures I picked. They're both, well, one is dynamic in the movement and the other one is like very much like they're in the same pose, they're sleeping the same way, and yeah, I thought they would make a cute little series together. And how I approach these 2 paintings is probably nothing new, but it's the first time I'm doing it, which is painting the 2 at the same time, or like one right next to each other. So in that way, they kind of have the same values and hues, and their works within the same pace, and I feel like they will be painted under the exact same mindset and time frame while I'm working on them. So while we have me painting in the background, I guess we'll have to talk about a job interview that I went to, because it was kind of interesting. So I get to the company and all of the meeting rooms were occupied. So they were like, just sit here and wait. So it's like their lunch area. So I just sit down, I wait for like 10 minutes, and then this person comes and they tell me to fill out a form. And the form is one of those that ask you every single thing that's ever happened to you type of form. You know what I mean? Like, you have to report your education starting from which high school you went to. Right. I take my sweet time to fill it in because I'm like, I don't want to fill in all of it. I was picking and choosing because like I don't want to give my parents' contact information to you. Like, what the fuck? So I take long enough where the person comes back and they're like, oh, you can just like fill out this part and it's fine, because I had half of it not filled in yet. So I was like, great, amazing. The first person comes to interview me and we were sat at the public area, by the way, like we're not in a meeting room, and I think they're moving soon or something, because there are like moving company guys taping boxes, moving books into boxes, and it's super loud. And you know when those like thick duct tapes, when you like unroll them, it's so loud. So like as we were talking, like I'm trying to like talk over the noise pollution, you know what I mean? And the lady who was interviewing me, she was obviously super distracted as well. Like she kept looking off to the side. She looked so annoyed, but like not at me, at them. And I was just like, damn, like what is even going on? And also like she had my resume printed out and she was like, introduce yourself. So I did, and the whole time she didn't look at me like one time. She was just like staring at my resume. So I was like, shit, like she didn't even have time to like look at it before I came here. So I was like, this is probably gonna go nowhere, you know, because like she didn't even know I was coming. That was the vibe. But after I finished my introduction, the vibe changed because she immediately started asking me about how I can help them save this product that they're trying to like sell, you know what I mean? And thank God I did so much homework, so I had like all these things that were good already and things that they could improve on in my mind, right? So I was really trying hard, man. From like a statistics, from a psychology, from a decision-making standpoint, I was trying to give these like management and operation methods and tips that I think would improve their product. And she loved it. Like, she was writing down all my ideas, and I was like, okay, so maybe this is going somewhere. I would say after like 40 minutes, it was over, and she was like, wait here, because I want my boss to talk to you too. I was like, sick. Maybe I'm gonna get a job, you know what I mean? So I wait there for another 20 minutes. 20 minutes, right? No one comes. I was like, shit. And then finally, this lady comes. She is so young looking. She's probably like 30, 35. And I was like, that's the executive director? I was like, god damn. So we go to this office and we talk, and it is so different from the previous one. It is this big ass conference room, but only with the sofas lining the edges of the rooms, and the sofas are so thick, and like the armrests are also thick, and between each chair there's a big ass coffee table. So when I was sitting next to her, we are so far away because of how large the chairs were. And I was like, this is probably not good for like communicating, because there's like a social distance created just through the space alone, right? So I turned myself fully around so I can like face her head on. She also makes me introduce myself, the whole 9 yards, and then she was like, so you don't really have any experience. I was like, damn. Okay, guess I didn't need to intern, like what the hell? So she was like, can you give me some like practical tips that we can immediately start using to save this product? I was like, damn, okay, yes. So I think it went pretty well, because after that she was like, okay, we want the HR to talk to you. And I was not prepared for that at all, because usually the person who does like the actual work sees you, and then they're okay with it. A few days later they want you back, and then like a higher up interviews you, and then if that goes well, and then the HR interviews you, because they would talk about like accommodations and your salary, right? So I was not prepared for a salary talk, and if you have been looking for a job lately, you know that it's like a game of chess. If they don't ask you directly, you cannot offer a number, because then they would feel like you're too eager. You have to say, as long as it's in a reasonable range, considering city, considering degree, considering the field of work, I will accept a reasonable salary. And then if they push, you need to say a range, right? So that's the whole thing. I didn't even prepare. I didn't even think about it, because I was like, this is the first time I'm coming to this company. There's no way there's gonna be salary talk. But there was. And I feel like I said a number that was too low, because as soon as it left my mouth, she smiled. Yeah. But like, to me, it's still a good amount. It's just like I could have pushed for a higher number, but it's fine. Like, who knows? So everything went well. A liaison messaged me saying like, it seems to be positive vibes, but so far haven't heard back from them. It's been 2 days. But the thing is, do you remember when I just mentioned in the first interview with the lady that they were moving people, like moving company people? Apparently they were moving offices on Tuesday. My interview was on Monday. So I'm just gonna say it's because it's chaotic, everyone's trying to get settled, and there's paperwork, so they haven't contacted me. But we'll see. So I finished one book in March, Nocturnes by Ishiguro. My friend Fiona, my master's era friend, she gifted this to me before I left London and came back home. She has not read it either. I think she thrifted this, which is amazing. I love thrifting books. Thank you for finding me this book. So first of all, let me say some good things about it. So the writing is very beautiful. You can feel the characters very deeply, and it's very atmospheric. However, the themes I found to be very repetitive, and they kind of just circle back on themselves without ever developing into anything that makes you reflect deeper on the character. Like, they don't really change, nothing really ever happens, and whenever you think, oh, something's gonna happen, the story ends. So I think this is also why I'm not really a big fan of short stories. I've never really read short stories until this year, which I've read Wild, The Canterville Ghost, and other stories, and this one. It's because I do become overly critical of them. So this book has 5 stories, and I have small notes on each of them that I like to share. So the first story is Crooner. It was actually, I think, the strongest among the 5. It's about a musician who decides to go through with the divorce with his wife despite them loving each other because he needs a comeback. And in the industry, you need a rebrand when you come back, and getting divorced and getting a smoking hot younger wife is part of it. So on his last trip with his soon-to-be ex-wife to commemorate their 30 years of marriage, they go to their honeymoon vacation spot where he convinces this guitarist he meets at a restaurant to serenade her for one last time. And the second story was Come Rain or Come Shine. I think it's the second strongest in this collection. It's about a friend who is doing just okay, like being an English teacher in Europe, gets invited back by friends he met in college, of whom the 2 married. He gets invited back and he realizes that both of them kind of hate him. The wife secretly writes in her notebook that he is the king of whiners, and the sole reason that the husband invited him is so that the wife can see how big of a loser other men are, so that she would be content sticking with him instead. I rate it slightly higher than the rest because it does have a very comedic compartment in it where he goes into this dog-like state to cover up a mistake that he made. So at times you think, is the protagonist actually as big of a loser as the couple make it seem like? Or is he actually doing fine on its own? And it's a fun back and forth where sometimes he definitely fits the loser type really well, and sometimes the couple seems very overly critical of him. And then the third story is Malvern Hills, and then the fourth is Nocturne, which I think is the namesake of this book. And the last one is Solace, and that one is the weakest. It is so bad. Like, it's just incredibly boring. It's about this young cello player who wants to make a name for himself. And while he was just chilling at a piazza, he meets this American woman who calls herself a virtuoso and kind of makes him feel bad when he says he doesn't know who she is. So they engage with this summer-long teaching session where he would bring his cello to her hotel every afternoon, and she would just listen and give him pointers on how he could improve. And by not even end of the summer, he becomes very, very convinced that she is indeed a virtuoso. But then it's later revealed that she has not played since she was 11, and that the whole reason she's not playing is because she believes that none of the teachers are good enough and they would taint her talent if she continued to go with her classical training. I think one of my biggest gripes with this collection is just that how none of the stories go anywhere. None of the characters do anything. The themes are just like regurgitated over and over. And also, every single marriage in these stories suck. Every single musician mentioned is a failing musician. I don't know if it's a reflection on Ishiguro himself, that he felt like pursuing the arts was just this inherently repetitive and pointless and painful thing. I don't know, but that's what this series, like, what the vibes were. So I think overall I would rate it a 3 out of 10. The writing is good, but the stories do not hold up. Like, they did not meet the expectations of what the blurb on the back sold it as. And I believe Ishiguro has better works. The Remains of the Day and Never Let Me Go. I've definitely heard of Never Let Me Go. I mean, he's also award-winning. I think he won the Nobel Prize in 2016. I don't know if overall, I am quite disappointed. And since we're on the theme of books, I have a couple of books that I am excited to read for April. I don't think I can finish all 4 of these, but my goal is to finish 2 of the 4. Let's start with, I think, another short story. The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I read Giovanni's Room by Baldwin, I think 3rd year of college, and I really liked it, and I think the story very much reflected a particular friendship in my own life, so it was a very interesting read and I enjoyed it very much. And him as a writer, I like his style, so I'm excited to read this one. And then Camera Lucidia, Roland Barthes. I read, I can't recall the name, but it's about love, the Book of Love or something. My friend Sandra recommended it to me and I found it interesting, and since then I've always wanted to read this one because I got really interested in film photography my last year of high school, and I kept practicing it, I guess, to this day. It's fun. I like taking pictures, I like the process. So yeah, excited to read this. And then we have 2 slightly longer books. So the first one is Impatience of Heart by Ziwig. It's also called Beware of Pity. I've just heard so much of it, and I've heard so much of Ziwig, so excited to read this one. I heard it's quite painful though. I think the whole reason I'm reading so many more short stories this year is because my attention span is kind of fucked, and short stories are just like easy to get through. Anyways, another one, Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. Both of these are recommended by Melissa. I love her. If you like book talk, I guess, follow her. And the normal side of book talk, by the way, not the spicy book talk that freaks me out. So yeah, I trust her. I'll see what this is about. Also, she said that Brideshead Revisited gives off the same like mood as The Go-Between, and that was like one of my highest rated books last year, so excited to read this one.